Let's look at another VMAX, this time Snorlax. Welcome back everyone to more from Sableyes. I'm Mitch and today we're going to be looking at Snorlax VMAX. This card has obvious potential, although obviously being capped at 210 damage can be a bit of a problem. The thing that I really like about it is the fact that it has 340 HP. So together with Blake and Jordan, we've put together a list. They're not here right now, but I've got to give them credit because I spent a long time trying to build something interesting with Snorlax VMAX, and with their help we managed to pull together something that was actually worth playing. So without further ado, we'll take a look. So this particular list might not look like any of the Snorlax lists that you've seen floating around, and it's because we're playing this 3-3 line of Porygon-Z. Now I'll explain why. Snorlax VMAX does 210 damage. There's nothing much we can realistically do about that. We're not going to be able to get it to do any more damage because we don't have things like Skyfield in order to increase the size of our bench. So instead what we figured we'd do, instead of trying to utilize its attack, we'll just use it as a half-hitting machine and heal it up all the time. So we've chosen to run Porygon-Z in this list to accompany our 3-2 line of Snorlax VMAX, because with 340 HP, this thing is almost impossible to knock out. So what we're going to do is we're going to chuck one of our, several of our 4 recycle energy onto this Snorlax VMAX, attack with it until it gets damaged, then use the new card Hyper Potion, which came out in Sword and Shield, where we heal 120 damage from one of our Pokemon that has 2 energy attached. We discard those 2 energy, we use Porygon-Z to put them back on, and we can potentially do this multiple times to heal heaps of damage from our Snorlax VMAX throughout the game. We also have, to aid us in that healing, 2 copies of Indeedee V. You can get a little bit of extra healing in over a game, 20 or 40 here or there is worth it. But we also have 1 Psychic Metal Lightning unit energy, so Psychic is a potential option for us if we would like to. So we've got that, as well as 2 copies of Mallow Lana. So we are planning on doing a lot of healing on this Snorlax, whilst we're taking 2 hits on pretty much everything in the format. We also have 2 copies of Buff Padding in order to boost the HP of our Snorlax by 50 more, because we have a retreat cost of 4. It means that our Snorlax VMAX heals every turn effectively and has 390 HP. So it's a pretty significant amount of HP that we're looking at here, and yeah, so we're going to try and get this thing to work. In support of that, we have 4 copies of Jirachi. We've got 4 copies of Jirachi with the Jirachi engine, and 1 copy of Dedenne-GX, just so we can get ourselves going. Because we're playing Jirachi, we're playing 4 copies of Switch, and 2 copies of Escape Board as well. So we're going to be trying to set up as quickly as possible early game, use Snorlax VMAX to attack, heal every turn, and see how it goes from there. We've got a few Pokemon search cards. We've got 2 copies of Evolution Incense and 2 copies of Pokemon Communication. This could be a 3-1 split either way, but we've decided to go with 2 of each. And then 4 Quick Ball to help us find basic Pokemon. We also have 4 copies of Rare Candy. We need to get into our Porygon-Z. That's why we've got a thick line of that. We probably only need 1 in play, but we need it to get this deck to work the way we want it to. So Rare Candy will get us into the Porygon-Z. We've got 3 copies of Cynthia as draw support, as well as 4 copies of Professor's Research. So we shouldn't have any problems drawing cards. It's just got to make sure that we draw them in the right order. Like I mentioned before, the energy, we have 4 recycle energy, which we want to be attaching late game. We also have triple acceleration energy in the list so that we can attack before Porygon-Z gets set up. Unlike things like Whimsicott, we're not reliant on having Porygon-Z early to do damage. We want to get it in the late game so that we can start healing. It also means that we could potentially start taking knockouts to find prizes if things are prized. And like I mentioned, we have that 1 unit energy so that we might be able to attack with an Indeedee. Hey, this list is super fun. We managed to get a decent game out of it, so definitely worth looking at. Not one that I'd be taking to a big tournament, but hey, if you've got a local league that you're looking to have some fun at and you're desperate to play Snorlax, then this could be the one for you. Let's take a look at it on the ladder. So we've got ourselves a game here. I've increased the speed of the playback a little bit because this one did take a long time. So we'll see how we go. We've won the coin flip. So that means we're going to be able to start setting up quickly. We've got the Jirachi early, which is good, but this hand does not look super strong. Our opponent's playing Sobble, which isn't necessarily an amazing deck that we're aware of. And our first turn here is pretty weak. But we do have most of the things that we need to get going. Would have been nice to have found a basic though. A U-turn board comes down for our opponent on the Sobble, and they give us a Mani here. So we're going to get to see 4 more cards, which is good. And we've found a research and a quick ball in there as well. So we're going to be able to at least get going. The key for us is being able to set up a Porygon quickly. There's a weak guard energy coming down on this Sobble, and they've potentially bricked themselves a little bit here. That Porygon-Z is really upsetting, the fact that we pulled that one out here. We're going to get the Porygon, but now we're going to need to discard a Porygon-Z as well as the triple acceleration energy. But this hand looks quite good. We're going to be able to Stellar Wish here. We'll grab a Cynthia for next turn. We might even consider the research. We'll probably play down the second Porygon, although you might not necessarily need to in this situation. Then we will retreat into it, and let's attach this energy and use Quick Draw. Means that we're going to get ourselves an extra card. Now we've got 2 Evo Incenses here. We could potentially find ourselves a Snorlax VMAX next turn, and if we do top deck Rare Candy, then we can get into our Porygon-Z, which is already in hand. So we're looking at pretty solid here, and the best thing is we're definitely going to be able to attack next turn because we're going to have triple acceleration energy onto a Snorlax VMAX. Our opponent has Drizzile for Shady Dealing, so they'll be able to find themselves a trainer. They'll probably find some sort of supporter here, you'd think. There's a Cynthia. They've got a Keldeo V down on the bench as well, so it's looking like this is a water box style deck. We'll see whether or not they can get themselves going here. They're going to need the Frostmoth on the Snom, which they've just found, and a few more energies. We're looking at a Sobble coming down. That could potentially turn into another Drizzile throughout the game, and obviously this deck built around using those Shady Dealings abilities to find items. Water Drip does 30 damage, which is not a big deal for us. We've just happened to find the Snorlax VMAX straight off the top there. So what we'll do is we'll Pokecom, we'll grab ourselves another Snorlax, and then we might just attach this triple accelerated and Cynthia, see what we can find. We actually find a switch here into our Jirachi, so we're going to be able to utilize Stellar Wish if we want. Although, to be fair, is there anything that we really need? Maybe, maybe not. We Jirachi, find the Evo Incense, and that's going to get us our Porygon-Z. So now we're set up. We've got triple accelerated energy. We've got a couple of Snorlaxes. We're going to switch into our Snorlax VMAX now and take our first knockout. You can see 180 damage. We're doing quite a bit already. We haven't got our recycle energies yet, but as soon as we do, we're going to be able to start healing some of the damage that our opponent puts in play. At the moment, they're not really threatening anything, but since they have Frostmoth, they can do large amounts of damage very, very quickly. So we need to make sure that we pay attention to that. Another Sobble comes down. They put the U-turn board back on their Sobble, and it looks like we're going for another Pokemon Communication, getting rid of Inteleon here to find another Drizzile. Drizzile again will be played for that. Shady Dealings to find themselves a supporter, you would imagine. And once they've got that going, they're going to be able to maybe find some energy. That's the thing that they've really struggled with so far. They've not been able to find energy to attach to this Keldeo, which means that they're not able to attack with it. So this Professor Magnolia will come down. They'll draw 7 fresh cards, and you'd think that they'd want to be finding some energy pretty soon. The Ordinary Rod can shuffle in Sobble, Drizzile, and potentially a Water Energy from the discard as well. So here comes that Magnolia. We'll see whether or not the Frostmoth can power up this Keldeo. A big hand of 7. Obviously, there could be some potential for missing. But we're not super worried. Even if they do get it powered up, this Keldeo might do maybe 50 plus, well, I don't know, 90 damage, maybe 140. That's not even half of our HP. So we're A-okay with that. It doesn't look like they've actually managed to find any off of that Magnolia, which is quite surprising. They've retreated into the Sobble here. They're going to quick ball. They actually did have energy, so maybe they just don't have enough. They're going to use Lapras V here as well. They'll play that one down. and give themselves another attacker. We could potentially see a Lapras VMAX come out as well in this game. But it doesn't look like there's going to be a huge amount coming from our opponent here. We could just be allowed to take another prize for free with the triple acceleration energy in our hand. So we'll attach that one straight away. The question is, do we realistically need this other Snorlax? Maybe, maybe not. We might consider grabbing ourselves the Indeedee here. Even though we don't have the energy anymore, we can still utilize it for its heal on the active Pokemon. And we've just found ourselves 3 recycle energies. So we are right in this game here now. We've got the entire board set up the way that we want it. If they do hit into us, we can start doing some healing. We've got Mallow Lana. Obviously, we have used one of those triple accelerated energies now, but that's okay. And we managed to find another Indeedee off of the prizes. The big issue for us is going to be if they do use some sort of gust and knockout Porygon-Z, but at this stage I'm not super worried. If they do that, they're not putting damage on our Snorlax, and we'll have enough time to get another one in play. So we've got another Weak Guard energy coming down here. Our opponent seems to have played more Weak Guard energy than water at this stage, but they do have one from that energy retrieval. If they potentially get themselves another Inteleon, then they might be able to get a big knockout, or not a big knockout, big attack off here. I say big knockout thinking that Lapras VMAX is going to do a lot of damage, but Snorlax VMAX has 340 HP, so it's ridiculous here. They find their VMAX, which is pretty strong, and now they're using Ice Dance, so they're going to be able to power this Lapras up. Hopefully they've got more than just the one. It might be a little bit awkward if they've only got the one energy to attach, and that means that they're only realistically going to be doing, what, 90 plus 60, 150 damage. Now that is enough to threaten us here, but we have the Indeedee, we have the Mallow Lana. This 150 damage, we're just going to heal it straight away, so watch over here. 20 off of the active, then we can use Mallow Lana. We're going to discard Indeedee and Jirachi, retreat into our own Jirachi, and give ourselves a Stellar Wish here. And that we can find a switch for next turn as well, just in case things go poorly. We can get into that G-Max fall and attack for 210. That's a half hit on this Lapras VMAX, which is very, very strong. Like, this is a really good position to be in. The deck obviously has some issues setting up, and if our opponent was going a little bit quicker than we were, we would have been in a lot of trouble, but they had a bit of a stall at the start as well. So they've used their Evo Incense to find Inteleon here. I'm going to use Shady Dealings to find 2 trainers, which is a really strong ability. Find 2 trainers here. They could potentially find a supporter to shuffle their hand, maybe even find themselves some extra energy off of something like a Lady if they have it. Depending on what engine they are running, they could potentially have Misty Lorelei, which is what they've pulled out here. They're grabbing Viridian Forest as well. So it looks like they might be expecting to grab some energy here, which is really, really good for them. The question is, can they get it all onto this Lapras VMAX in time? And they might not be able to, and even if they do, then our Snorlax might get knocked out, but our Snorlax V on the bench will be able to take a knockout on their Lapras VMAX as long as we can find the evolution for it. So we are feeling pretty good. They're grabbing some energy here off of the Viridian Forest. They're going to Ice Dance that energy down onto this Inteleon, which is an interesting call. They're going to probably utilize its attack, does 120 damage, and then snipes the bench. They could maybe get a knockout on the Porygon if they're able to have a couple of turns here, but I don't think that it's going to happen. They've got a Mallow and Lana as well, so they're going to do some healing, heal some of their damage off, and then utilize Inteleon's Aqua Bullet for 120 on the active, and then 20 on the bench. It's going to put that Porygon just short of being knocked out, and we're now in a position where, okay, we've got a little something that we need to do. We're going to watch over once here, so we're going to heal a little bit of that damage off. We're going to switch into the Jirachi. We're probably going to Evo Incense just to grab this other Snorlax VMAX, so we've got it ready to go. This means we can potentially attack with it this turn because of the triple accelerated energy. And look at this, we've got a ton of Hyper Potions here, so we can heal that Snorlax and then pop those recycle energies back onto it. And now we can get attacking with that fresh Snorlax as well, and we're going to grab the Mallow and Lana off of the Jirachi. So we are healing a ton of damage. We don't get use out of the triple accelerated energy on the bench, but that's fine because we're showing off exactly what this deck is designed to do. We can potentially heal another 360 damage next turn. So if they don't take a one-shot, we can go back down to 0. It's a really, really strong position to be in. Our opponent doesn't have a huge hand, so they're probably going to struggle to find energy. Although in saying that, they still have the Misty Lorelei from last turn. They're going to put 3 energy onto this Lapras VMAX, which is insane. They're going to be able to put all of them on there with Ice Dance, although, no, they're actually going with the Keldeo instead here. It's probably fair because if they don't get, or if they get the knockout, then they probably get returned by Snorlax VMAX on our side of the field. So that makes a lot of sense. Looks like they're going to chuck all of those down onto the Keldeo. But the crazy thing is, it doesn't matter how much energy they put on this Keldeo, we're going to heal all of that damage off. So there is nothing that they can do, realistically, to get a knockout this turn, especially since they've split those energy. So Secret Sword comes out, does 140, which is regularly a good amount of damage. We're just going to watch over here, we're going to heal 20. I think we might even Mallow and Lana just to heal that 120 off. We've got the Hyper Potions still. We can just get rid of these 2 Jirachis. We don't need them. Go into the Jirachi, Stellar Wish, find ourselves a Buff Padding. So now we've got even more HP on this Snorlax. And then G-Max Fall will do 210, which is a straight knockout on a Keldeo. And we're 1 prize away from winning the game. And look at that, we find another Hyper Potion as well. So now we can heal 360 damage and potentially have some left over, 380, and they still wouldn't be able to knock us out. So if they do anything that doesn't one-shot this Snorlax this turn, they are not going to be able to take a knockout, which is just ridiculous when you think about it. We're going to see this Lapras VMAX here with a ton of water energy on it. Does 210 damage, really, really strong. We can just utilize Hyper Potion here, heal off 1, we can attach the energy, heal off the second lot of damage, and then crazy code all of those recycle energies back onto the Snorlax, ready to do 210 damage. Now, we're not going to be able to get a knockout on this Lapras, unfortunately. We're almost there, we're on 300 damage, but now our opponent has effectively nothing they can do. They can hit us for, what, 240? If they find a few more energy, maybe, but they need to find a switch as well. And we've already got a Snorlax VMAX on the bench ready to go. We've got energy, we've got Porygon-Z, and hey, listen, this is an exceptionally strong situation to be in for us. We've healed so much damage, it's just crazy. We've used Mallow and Lana twice, we've used Hyper Potion 3 times, and we've used Indeedee on almost every turn as well, and there's not much you can do about that. So hey, certainly a lot of fun. This deck is absolutely insane when it gets set up. If someone could make this thing consistent, then I reckon it would actually probably be pretty decent. But obviously with things like ADP-zation and Pikarom running around, those Porygon-Zs on the bench are in a bit of danger. But who would have thought the Hyper Potion would have been so good? Thank you very much for coming along and watching this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. We had some fun with it today. If you like the content and you want to see more in a similar style, then you can click the button that's just here. That will get you a subscription to the Sableyes. We'd much appreciate it. Down here there are a couple of videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, as well as a playlist for more decks from the Sword and Shield format. Thanks very much for watching us. If you'd like to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, then follow us at the Sableyes_YT. And apart from that, we'll see you all next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.